If there's one place on Earth where nature is still firmly in charge, it's the Galapagos Islands. This volcanic archipelago, perched in the Pacific Ocean some 600 miles off Ecuador's coast, isn't just another bucket list vacation spot. It's one of the few places left on the planet where humans are reminded that they're not the stars of the show. The animals are. Giant tortoises lumber around like ancient kings. Iguanas dive into the sea like they've forgotten they're lizards. And frigate birds patrol the skies like pirates of the air. And if you're lucky enough to visit, the Galapagos National Park Directorate, GNPD, has a whole list of rules, 14 to be exact, to make sure you don't mess it all up. Now, rules might not sound like the most thrilling thing, but in the Galapagos, they're not only strange, they're downright fascinating. They tell the story of how fragile and unique this place is, and just how far the world will go to protect it. And as if those weren't enough, the islands themselves are full of weird, wild facts that feel almost made up. So let's dive into the strange rules and stranger realities of the Galapagos Islands, a place where you can't light a campfire, can't pet a sea lion, and might just run into a 12-inch venomous centipede while sipping world-class coffee. The very first thing you'll notice is that you can't just wander into the national park on your own. Forget the idea of tossing on your backpack and playing explorer. By law, you must be accompanied by a certified naturalist guide, trained and authorized by the GNPD. Think of them like guardians of a natural treasure, but also like babysitters for humans. Because let's face it, people left to their own devices would probably end up poking iguanas with selfie sticks or trying to smuggle out lava rocks as souvenirs. The guides not only tell you about Darwin's finches and lava lizards, but also make sure you stay in line, literally. And that's because the second rule is just as strict. Stick to the marked trails. The Galapagos isn't the kind of place where you can go off the beaten path. The beaten path is the only path. Step off it and you risk trampling a rare plant, disturbing a nesting bird, or even worse, finding yourself nose to beak with an animal that really doesn't care for your company. Then there's the distance rule. Keep 6 feet away from wildlife at all times. It doesn't matter if a blue-footed booby waddles up to you, or if a sea lion decides your beach towel looks like the perfect nap spot, you're not allowed to touch. The animals in the Galapagos evolved without much fear of humans, so they're unusually friendly, or maybe just indifferent. But that makes them even more vulnerable to disease, stress, and human interference. It's one of the hardest rules for visitors to follow, because who wouldn't want to snap a selfie hugging a giant tortoise? But break it, and you'll find yourself in hot water with your guide, or even the authorities. Speaking of selfies, put away your flash. Flash photography is banned. Imagine you're a nocturnal iguana suddenly hit with paparazzi-level bursts of light. Not exactly fair. The islands are supposed to be a refuge, not a red carpet. And if you're thinking of coming in with drones, mini-subs, or parasailing gear to spice up your Instagram feed, forget it. Motorized aquatic sports, aerial tourism, and submersibles are strictly off limits. Here the natural world gets priority over your adrenaline rush. Then there are the camping rules, or rather, the lack of them. You can't just pitch a tent wherever you feel like it. Only a few areas are designated for camping, and you have to get written permission at least 48 hours in advance. The message is clear. This isn't Burning Man. It's one of the world's most delicate ecosystems. Even a stray campfire could wipe out a swath of plants or animals, which is why smoking and open flames are completely forbidden too. The Galapagos isn't interested in giving humans the chance to burn it down. Even food is policed. You're not allowed to bring in outside snacks, fruits, or animals. The risk of introducing an invasive species is too high. Just one foreign insect, seed, or bacteria could throw the entire ecosystem off balance. And while we're at it, don't even think about taking souvenirs. No shells, no lava rocks, no pieces of coral. It might be tempting to pocket something as proof you were there, but the GNPD treats that as theft. In fact, buy a black coral necklace or a carved tortoise shell from some shady vendor and you could be in serious trouble. Even trash has its rules. Visitors are expected to pack out every scrap they bring in, leaving nothing behind. Leave no trace isn't just a slogan here, it's survival. On an island where a plastic bottle can choke a sea turtle, that candy wrapper isn't just litter, it's a weapon. But the oddest rule of all? Fishing. You can only do it from boats officially licensed for recreational fishing. In a place where the waters are teeming with fish, you'd think throwing in a line would be harmless, but it's tightly controlled to protect the marine reserve. Same goes for the ban on jet skis and other aquatic sports. No one wants a baby sea lion flattened by a tourist doing donuts on the water. At this point, you might think the rules sound extreme, but they exist for good reason. The Galapagos is like a time capsule, a living museum of evolution. Darwin didn't just stumble onto an island of funny-looking finches. He stumbled onto one of the most unique laboratories of life on Earth, and that uniqueness has to be protected at all costs. Which brings us to the truly strange part, the islands themselves, because beyond the rules are the creatures and facts that make the Galapagos feel like another planet. Take the Scolopendra galapagoensis, the carnivorous centipede that can grow up to 12 inches long. Imagine lying in bed and finding a foot-long centipede crawling up the wall. These creepy crawlies are so aggressive they hunt small animals, paralyzing them with venomous claws. They're not lethal to humans, but they're definitely the stuff of nightmares, and yet they're part of the ecosystem's balance. Proof that in the Galapagos, survival comes in all shapes and sizes. Then there are the tortoises. Not just any tortoises, but giants that can live to be 150 years old and weigh over 500 pounds. The oldest on record made it to 170, which means some of the tortoises alive today were around before the invention of the airplane. When Darwin visited in 1835, he was so fascinated by them that he actually tried to ride one. Spoiler alert, it didn't work. The tortoise simply tucked into its shell, leaving Darwin sitting awkwardly on top. History books rarely mention that part, but it's a hilarious reminder that even geniuses make fools of themselves sometimes. And while tortoises lumber on land, the iguanas dive into the sea. The Galapagos marine iguana is the only species of iguana in the world that swims, and it can dive up to 30 feet underwater. Picture a reptile that looks like a miniature dragon slipping into the ocean like it forgot it was supposed to bask on rocks. Darwin himself thought they looked hideous and clumsy, but in the water, they're graceful. Birds here are just as strange. The frigate bird can fly for weeks without landing, unable to take off again if it touches water. The flightless cormorant, on the other hand, evolved to lose its ability to fly entirely, growing too large and heavy to take to the skies. It's one of only a handful of birds in the world that gave up flight, and it raises an odd question: why keep wings at all? Evolution decided they'd be better off paddling than flapping. And if all of that wasn't surreal enough, the islands themselves are slowly sinking. Sitting on a volcanic hotspot, they rise and fall over millions of years. Some of the older islands are already dipping back beneath the ocean. Don't panic, it won't happen tomorrow, but it's a humbling reminder that even these legendary islands aren't forever. In the end, the Galapagos isn't just about following rules, it's about learning to live as a guest in a world where humans don't come first. The rules might seem strange, but they're really just common sense for a place where evolution is still writing new chapters. The centipedes may creep you out, the tortoises may outlive you, and the iguanas may make you rethink what a lizard can do. But that's the magic of the Galapagos. It's a reminder that the world is still full of wonders, as long as we can resist the urge to ruin them.